Baltimore General, an episodic medical drama. Written by Blue Bolton. Episode 1, Transfer of Care, Chapter 16. Emilia stumbled backward, her lips still burning from the kiss. Her heart hammered against her ribs, lungs struggling to find air as voices grew louder on the stairwell. I dot. The words died in her throat, unformed and dangerous. Shaw's face transformed before her eyes, desire crystallizing into clinical detachment like frost spreading across glass. We should discuss Jordan's case tomorrow. The morning rounds will be at 7. Right, Emilia managed. Jordan's case. A cluster of residents appeared on the landing below, their chatter dying when they spotted the two doctors. Shaw gave them a curt nod before turning back. Get some rest, Doctor. Carter, you've earned it. Not a tremor in her voice betrayed what had just happened between them. Emilia watched Shaw descend, exchanging brief pleasantries with the residents as she passed. How did she do that? How did she kiss someone breathless one moment and wear professionalism like armor the next? Emilia's fingers drifted to her mouth, tracing where Shaw's lips had been. The enormity crashed over her. She was married, unhappily perhaps, but married nonetheless, and she'd just kissed a colleague, a controversial, complicated colleague on her first shift at a new hospital. The residents reached her landing, nodding respectfully as they continued upward. Emilia forced her face into something resembling composure and began her descent, her knees threatening to buckle beneath her. She needed air. She needed space. She needed to escape this stairwell where Shaw's scent still lingered in her senses. The hospital corridors melted into a fluorescent blur as she moved toward the exit. She nodded mechanically at passing nurses, averted her eyes from curious doctors, and finally burst through the main doors into the night. The parking lot stretched before her, bathed in the sickly glow of security lights. Emilia gulped the crisp Baltimore air exhaust fumes and harbor brine replacing the sterile hospital environment she'd been breathing for 36 hours straight. 36 hours. No wonder her judgment had fractured. She was running on caffeine fumes and the razor's edge of adrenaline. That kiss, that moment of weakness, was nothing but fatigue and the emotional high of saving Jordan's life. It meant nothing. Tomorrow she would apologize to Shaw, explain it away as a mistake, and they would continue as professionals. Awkward but manageable. People made mistakes. The important thing was acknowledging them and ensuring they never happened again. Emilia pulled out her phone and checked the time. Midnight. Preston would be home from his firm dinner by now. She should call, check in, pretend everything was normal. She scrolled to his contact and pressed call, counting the rings. 1, 2, 3. Then his voicemail clicked on. You've reached Preston Wells. I'm unable to take your call right now. Please leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. His courtroom voice, his client voice. Emilia opened her mouth to speak, then closed it again. What would she say? That she'd had an incredible first day? That she'd saved a boy's life? That she'd kissed another woman in a hospital stairwell? She ended the call without speaking and slipped the phone back into her pocket. Preston wouldn't care about her day. He might pretend interest, ask perfunctory questions, but his mind would be elsewhere on his cases, his clients, his ambitions. It had been that way for years. The realization settled over her shoulders like a familiar coat. She'd called him out of habit, not because she expected or even wanted his support. When had their marriage become this hollow performance? Emilia hugged herself against the chill, her breath clouding in the night air. She should go home to the sterile, barely furnished apartment she'd rented when accepting this position. It wasn't home, not really. just a place to sleep between shifts. But it was private, quiet, a place where she could wash away the hospital smell and collapse into oblivion. Something held her back. The thought of those empty rooms with their blank walls and generic furniture felt unbearable tonight. And beneath that, a whisper that leaving meant abandoning Jordan. His condition had stabilized, but he wasn't safe yet. What if something happened while she was gone? Irrational, the hospital was staffed with competent doctors and nurses. Jordan would be monitored constantly. Her presence wasn't necessary, and yet, Emilia turned and walked back through the automatic doors, returning to the fluorescent world of Baltimore General. Night shift hummed with quiet purpose. Nurses glided between rooms with medication carts. Residents hunched over computer stations, reviewing charts. Occasional overhead pages punctured the relative stillness. She made her way to the ICU, where the night nurse looked up with mild surprise. "Dr. Carter, thought you'd gone home." "Just stepped out for some air," Emilia said. "How's Jordan doing?" The nurse, Monica, according to her badge, pulled up Jordan's latest vitals. Holding steady, ammonia levels coming down, liver enzymes still elevated but improving, no more seizure activity. Emilia leaned in, studying the numbers as relief washed through her. The treatment was working. They'd made the right call. "His mother's still here," Monica added, gesturing toward Jordan's room. "Wouldn't leave even when we told her to get some rest." Through the glass, Emilia saw Marla Hall slumped beside her son's bed, one hand resting on his arm. Her face was carved with exhaustion, but beneath it lay something else, a fierce determination Emilia recognized. The look of someone who would fight the world for someone they loved. Had anyone ever looked at Emilia that way? Had she ever inspired that kind of devotion? Not Preston, not for years. Maybe at the beginning, when they were ambitious med students dreaming of changing the world. But as he'd switched to law and climbed his firm's ladder, that passion had cooled into something more like appreciation for a valuable asset. And what about her? Had she fought for their marriage with that ferocity? Or had she simply watched its slow decay, too focused on her career, too afraid of confrontation to demand more? Emilia turned away from the sight of mother and son, uncomfortable with where her thoughts were leading. "The on-call room on this floor is empty if you want to crash for a few hours," Monica offered. "You look dead on your feet." "Thanks," Emilia said. "I might do that." She walked down the corridor, past Jordan's room, careful not to disturb Marla. The on-call room was sparse but clean, narrow bed, desk, tiny bathroom. Emilia sank onto the edge of the mattress, exhaustion suddenly crashing through her. She should sleep. Rounds were less than 7 hours away. But her mind raced, replaying the day in vivid detail. Jordan's seizures, the differential diagnosis, the confrontation with Winters, Bird's veiled threats, the kiss. Emilia groaned and collapsed backward, throwing an arm over her eyes. What had she been thinking? She hadn't been thinking at all. She'd been feeling. Feeling alive, challenged, seen in a way she hadn't experienced in years. Shaw had looked at her like she mattered, not as a colleague, not as an extension of her husband, but as herself. Emilia Carter, the doctor who'd recognized Wilson's disease when others missed it, the woman who'd stood her ground against pressure and intimidation. That recognition had been intoxicating, dangerous. A soft knock startled her upright. Emilia smoothed her wrinkled scrubs. "Come in." Tabitha Ross poked her head in, her expression mixing concern with knowing amusement. "Thought I might find you here. Monica said you came back." "I couldn't leave," Emilia admitted, "not with Jordan still unstable." Tabitha entered, closing the door behind her. "He's not unstable anymore, thanks to you. Latest labs show significant improvement." It was a team effort. Sure, but you were the one who put it together. Tabitha settled beside her on the bed. That was good work today, Dr. Carter. Really good work. The simple praise warmed Emilia more than it should have. Thank you. But you should go home, Tabitha continued. Get some real sleep in a real bed. Jordan's going to be fine, and you need to take care of yourself. I know, Emilia said. I just... Words failed her, unable to explain the tangle of emotions keeping her tethered to the hospital. Tabitha studied her face. Something happened. Not a question. Emilia looked away, uncomfortable under the nurse's piercing gaze. It's been a long day. Mm-hmm, Tabitha hummed, unconvinced. Long day that ended with you and Dr. Shaw in a stairwell? Emilia's head snapped up. How did you? Hospitals have eyes everywhere, Tabitha said, shrugging, and gossip travels faster than lab results around here. Heat flooded Emilia's face. Nothing happened. If you say so. Tabitha's tone made it clear she didn't believe that for a second. But whatever didn't happen has you looking like you've seen a ghost. Emilia sighed, too exhausted to maintain the pretense. I made a mistake, a momentary lapse in judgment that won't be repeated. Was it really a mistake? Tabitha asked quietly. Or was it something you've wanted to do since you met her? The question cut too close to bone. Emilia stood abruptly, moving to the small window overlooking the parking lot. It doesn't matter. I'm married. To a man who doesn't answer your calls. Emilia turned, startled. How did you know I called Preston? I didn't, Tabitha said, but I saw you come back inside looking like someone stole your last cup of coffee. Wasn't hard to figure out. Emilia leaned against the windowsill, the full weight of exhaustion settling into her bones. My marriage isn't perfect, but that doesn't justify whatever that was with Shaw. No, it doesn't, Tabitha agreed, but it might explain it. Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Emilia had known Tabitha less than a day, yet somehow the nurse had peeled back her carefully constructed facade with unnerving accuracy. You should know, Tabitha finally said, that Sloane Shaw has a history of getting involved with colleagues. It rarely ends well. The warning came gently but clearly. Emilia nodded, grateful for the honesty. I appreciate the heads up, but it won't be an issue. What happened today was a one-time thing. Good, Tabitha said, standing, because you've got enough on your plate with this Jordan Hall case. Speaking of which, she pulled a folded paper from her pocket. I printed his admission scan for your review. Thought you might want to look it over before rounds. Emilia took the paper, unfolding it to reveal Jordan's initial lab results and imaging. Thank you. Tabitha headed for the door. Try to get some sleep, Dr. Carter. Tomorrow's another day. After Tabitha left, Emilia sat at the small desk to review Jordan's scans. The chelation therapy was clearly working, copper levels decreasing, liver function improving. It confirmed their Wilson's disease diagnosis, the rare genetic disorder causing copper to accumulate in body tissues. But something still nagged at her. Why hadn't Jordan been diagnosed earlier? Wilson's disease symptoms typically appeared gradually. There should have been signs of jaundice, abdominal pain, neurological symptoms long before this crisis. And why had he been taking 4 times his prescribed Vascatril dose? Jordan didn't fit the profile for deliberate overdose. According to his mother, he was meticulous about his medication. Emilia flipped to the next page, studying the brain imaging showing copper deposits typical of Wilson's disease. The scan quality was exceptional, the pathology unmistakable. Her gaze drifted to the bottom corner, where a small watermark caught her attention. She leaned closer, squinting. Hanley Foundation, internal use only. Emilia's breath caught in her throat. Hanley, the same name as her case in D.C. Grace Hanley, the teenage girl who had died under similar circumstances, the case that had haunted her, ultimately driving her from D.C. General. This couldn't be coincidence. But what was the connection? The Hanley Foundation wasn't affiliated with Baltimore General as far as she knew. Tabitha had given her this scan. Did she know about the watermark? Was she trying to tell Emilia something?